Hey Richard, how's the video coming along? We're uploading... Oh, fuck.
Yeah, quite the position you've caught me in. To explain myself, I've recently breached confinement to celebrate our team's recent affiliation with XP Games. I even managed to convince them to give us some discount codes. And that's right team, I gang-stalked my local game store owner for 2 months until he became a mentally broken shell of himself. Now that he's a crumbling wreck, I got us a discount code that you can use with XP Games for 10% off all Grand Archive product, including sealed, singles, even the sleeves. All you gotta do is use code BANTER KNIGHTS at checkout for 10% off all GA product on orders over 50 New Zealand dollars. Second discount code.
I think Naya is probably my most favorite card.
Josh, have I just been going off on like a 2-minute rant, just glazing the shit out of them?
I'll flip the table, and if he's in the way, well, that's his fault. He was too slow.
Welcome back to Banter Knights episode 4, hot off the heels of the last one and with a returning guest. I'm Richard, joined by Josh, and today we're happy to welcome back Glen, recent champion of Grand Archive. How you doing, bro?
Yeah, mate, not too bad, not too bad. Good to be back home, that's for sure.
Oh, back in the Kiwi land. We love to see it, back in Aotearoa. How you been settling in though? Because it has been a few weeks since World already.
Yeah, well, after Worlds we've sort of like had a little bit of time in Vegas still to like chill around and stuff. Flew back.
You didn't go gambling though, did you?
Spend all your money.
Not all of it, but
Yeah. you gotta spend some of it. You gotta experience it, right?
I was gonna say I gotta get this off the table from the get-go, because like obviously right after Worlds must have been a bit of a shock, finishing it up, being the first Grand Archive World Champion. Now, it's been 2 weeks since then, had a little bit of time to simmer. How are you feeling about that title now? Like actually having the title, being the first ever Grand Archive World Champion?
Oh, mate, to be honest, I'm never gonna. It's never gonna settle in, I don't think, at this point.
Yeah.
I keep being called the world champion. And I'm just like, I don't feel like I'm like the best player. So like, yes, I did win the event, but I also don't feel like I'm the best player out there.
I mean, realistically, right? There's no, you go to any event, and it doesn't matter whether it's a locals, whether it's a store champs, or whether it's the world championships. You can have the best players in the room, and the best players in the world in the same place. But if someone's running hot and then the best player in the world isn't, then that's how tournaments are won. That's the way that TCGs work. It's there's always going to be a luck factor involved, and I'm not saying that's the reason that you got to where you are, because it's definitely not. Like, you played extremely well, and I think, yeah, like at the end of the day, no matter how you feel about it, you still won the event, and you took the advantage of the opportunity that was put in front of you, and you just rode the wave and took it out. So yeah, man, I just keep holding on to that. You took advantage of the moment that appeared.
And like, it's not just this like, I guess, one whole event. Like, there's been previous events to even be able to get to this spot in the first place. Like, you've had to get a nationals invite from
Yep.
like a regionals or something like that, and then obviously place top for a nationals to even get to this whole world championship event.
Yeah. So like, I mean, there's I would say that you are the best player in the world right now. I mean, you don't have to say it, but that's what I would say, because definitely. I mean, the way that you play is, that's one thing, and that's for someone who's probably a bit better than me to judge, right? But I mean, realistically, you're probably the best player. It's kind of hard to have other people that can judge it. But also, you know, well, someone commented this, I can't remember who, locally, is that whenever anyone was playing any of the Kiwis, we could see on the streams, both players were smiling, right? And I think that that's so indicative of our culture. And I think that you showing that, along with Marnie and Wilson, it showed that you guys are the best players, not only in New Zealand, but 3 of the best players in the world. And it mean you bring a good culture to it as well. Like, there's no, sometimes you see with best top performers in any TCG or sport, they can be quite arrogant, but you guys were all super humble and super friendly, and it was awesome to see.
Yeah, it was a great time, really. Having both Marnie and Wilson along with me, we stuck together like quite a lot throughout the whole trip.
Yeah,
You know, like something I feel like we got to comment on as well. Like, even though, you know, like you are an extremely good player in terms of your micro play, you know what cards to play, you like off a draw, you'll know what to do with it and stuff like that. You played extremely clean, but also the macro play, like overall, knowing what to build to worlds, like knowing what deck to bring and build into it, and then still winning those matchups. Like, it's not just that you are an extremely good micro player, but you're also an extremely good macro player. You knew what to build and what to bring, even though some of those matchups were not the most in favor for you, definitely.
Mm.
Oh, definitely not. Going up against the Rise, that was terrifying. Absolutely
Yeah.
terrifying.
And you still, like, if we could comment on that, right? I feel like you were the underdog of that tournament to me, going through it. Not in like any form of derogatory way. I mean, like, you know, at the start of the day, right? Let's go back to day one. We'll go back to the start of day one. I mean, there's no other way to put it. You were not on the best streak to start that day off. Like, I think everyone can agree it was not the most ideal way to start day one.
Oh mate, going up against Jason
Oh.
on stream for the
Yeah.
first event, we'd run this matchup so many times back in the Airbnb. Like we've actually run it for
Mm.
like probably months now, and every time I'm just getting absolutely slaughtered. So I sort of just took it as a write-off. Like, yeah, we're gonna lose
Yeah.
that first game. It's not much. Fun.
So
Yeah.
what I mean, I just a little, you know, pointed out to the listeners. I mentioned this in our most recent podcast. I don't know, you might not have probably haven't seen it yet, Glenn, but I mentioned how every fucking time that I play into Diana's, they always get double dungeon guide. This guy, we were seeing his hand, and it was 2 dungeon guides and then 3 dungeon guides in both of the hands. I'm like, what in the fuck is this? Diana's just have this like golden horseshoe up their ass, and they always see the dungeon guides. It blows my mind.
It's just how it is sometimes. Not much you can do
Yeah.
about it.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, it's still like, yeah. I mean, I've tried playing
Yeah.
Merlin into Diana, and it's not a fun matchup. It's very, very, very hard to win. So yeah, I mean, like you said, like taking that as a write off is, you know, sometimes you're just gonna have those where you just gotta write it off. But man, you know, like you commented on the day, it was, you know, I was messaging over, you know, during the day, and you submarine, you know, taking that submarine into the top 8 was just awesome.
Oh, it was literally submarine. At one point, I was 1 wins, 3 losses.
Yeah.
And to get to day 2, you had to go 4-3.
Yeah.
So it was, from that point onwards, it was a literal submarine underneath everyone.
Because I mean, like you went from being, as you said, 1-3. Like, you were at that point, you were on the back foot the entire rest of the tournament. One more loss and you were out. But you managed to then pull back 3 wins, get the final score to let you go to day 2, and then you got paired into top seed. You're against Caben. It's an unfavorable matchup as well. It's Rye. It's this new, like the Serene Rye that's been worked on, and Caben's running it into you. I can't imagine how you must have felt sitting back at that table and starting that match off. I mean, you finally clawed your way up to day 2, and then that's what you have to sit across from you. Like how did that feel for you?
I mean, to be honest, I was just happy I made the top 8.
Oh, love it.
Yeah, but like, but because we had to do our deck list the night before.
Yeah.
So there was a bit of like thinking on, because we could change our deck list from day 1 to day 2. So I was like, okay, well, I don't think Caben's still going to be sticking on the Rye. I was actually expecting him to go back to something that was a bit more comfortable on, like the water allies or wind allies, some sort of ally variation. And then I had a look at the rest of the bracket. My semi-final match was either going to be wind allies or water allies. I was like, okay, what we could do is go for some sort of like anti-ally build and something I was a bit more comfortable with, which would be hybrid Merlin. So we go into the Lorraine and the Merlin route. However, he still stays on right.
Yep.
He outplayed you in the mental game, because I guarantee
Disaster.
you he was thinking, oh, people are gonna think I'm gonna go back to allies and build into it. So I think, to be honest, he outplayed you in the mental game there.
Yeah, he got me. I was not expecting the Rye day 2 from him either.
No, I did not think he would stay on it either.
Well, I mean, there was 3 Ryes in the top 8.
Yeah.
And all 3 stayed on Rye.
Yep.
So this is just,
I mean,
to anyone that's a Rye complainer, a little bit of a Rye cringer who says that Rye's bottom tier, you shut your mouth, all right? Worlds came and passed, and Rye was one of the most represented champions in it.
It was the most. There was 5 out of the top 16. It's crazy.
Yeah, it's yeah, I think it's the way that Rye's built and the way that he plays into certain metas. I think that was probably a lot of ALC kind of ended up being pretty aggressive decks that try and go early, and I think that Rye doesn't play well into that. But when the meta slowed down and you started getting more Merlins and more Luxem Xanders, right? Rye plays really well into those. It's got a good matchup into them. So I think that's, when you see the meta shift and then Rye's coming back on top, and it's just going to be this ebb and flow thing. If Rye's suddenly really good and everyone's playing it, then everyone's going to be playing lots more allies, lots more aggressive stuff. But hey, one thing that we will that we want to we'll do a little flashback. I'm sure the editor, I'm sure he can manage this. Um, is to when you manifested going into Cabin for Richard. You said just for you. You pretty sure it was just for you. I'll match into him.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You literally said it. And you did it, and then you won it. You have no idea. I was kicking my feet like a little kid at the desk watching you play. I was like, no fucking way he did this. How did he do it? I was off my chain. That was so good. I probably made like the neighbors so pissed that it wasn't 10 p.m. and they could noise complaint me with how much I was cheering when you were going through that match.
Oh man. Well, I did call it. It was a few weeks before Worlds, and yeah.
Yeah. Either way, though, so you go through the Caven match. Just that was already insane enough. Like we can't do enough justice by just talking about it here. Like if anyone who's watching hasn't seen that, you should absolutely go back and watch it. Every single one of the top 16 is incredible players. But then you go into your next matchup, which was, as you predicted in the top, was a Wind Allies list. And you just said you built your list up for the Allies kind of matchup. So how did that one feel into Alec? Like,
Oh yeah, because like I was feeling a bit nervous, obviously, because it's a semi-final match. But then I also I built my list to be good into the allies that I was going to be
yes.
expecting in the semi-finals. So like obviously there was the first hurdle was to take over, was to win against Caven, and then then I was like, okay, if we can win against Caven, semi-final match will be easy, and then we can maybe get to the finals. Obviously, it was not easy.
Absolutely. Yes. I mean, disaster strikes in that first game. I mean, as you just said, heat of the moment, you were nervous as hell. This was the semi-finals of Worlds, and we had that one issue, which even the judge missed. Even the judge missed to the point that it got through to, I think it was the next turn when Alec realized that you shouldn't have been able to swing with your Sword of Seeking because it shouldn't have had the durability left. And it was already so far progressed in a game state that there was no ability for them to reverse the game state because it was the highest level of play. They couldn't even just do a basic reversal. That was just game loss for you. And that, I cannot imagine how you must have. We were chatting in the Discord. We were all frantically messaging like, no way, what's gonna happen? Can he pull this one back? What's gonna happen? We were incredibly nervous for you. I cannot imagine how it must have felt sitting in that seat with the cameras on you and everything, sitting across from Alec, and then being told. I mean, we could see it on your face. There was a drop when they came over and announced that it would be a game loss for that one. But inside your own head, what were you thinking at the time?
Well, it was really just my mistake. That was probably like I accepted the decision and everything, but did
I wouldn't
suck.
expect you to argue.
It definitely did suck, and I understood why we couldn't roll back as well. It wasn't actually Alec that pointed it out. It was, I believe it came from the chat or something. It's
Oh, right, yep.
and then it got pulled up to the judge, but by that time it had already gone past into his turn, and he's already materialized and banished something. So it was already like public info that shouldn't have been public. So it was just irreversible from that state. So while it is sad that it happened, I definitely do agree with the outcome.
Yeah. As you've stated before, like it's completely fine and stuff. But again, it just reinforces that like that underdog, like you managed to claw your way to day 2. You beat a very unfavorable matchup against against the top seed of the tournament. Then you go into your next game against Wind Allies. It seems like a favorable matchup for you, and then you get a judge call game loss for the first game of it. It continuously, the whole tournament, you were skating on that back foot, like you were doing it like it was in fashion.
Oh man, it was pretty stressful after that game loss. So it took I think like maybe 5 minutes or so just to like recoup my thoughts. Was able to come back into it and stuff. But man, Alec is so nice. He was always just like, man, this sucks. It's such a harsh decision and everything. He was a real compassionate, understanding guy, Alec. And I hope to see him in Singapore as well, actually.
Yeah. I can imagine having Wilson and Mani and Jason around would have been quite nice as well. Like you've got your home turf there to to like come around and give you a bit of encouragement after that? Like if you were, I feel like the whole tournament would have felt a lot more isolated if you didn't have two other guys from NZ, two local GA fanatics with you, along with your own team there, Jason and stuff. I feel like that definitely would have felt really, really nice to be able to fall back on after that very, very scary situation.
Yeah, absolutely. Like everyone was like all looking out for me and stuff. So it was a very nice atmosphere, I should say,
That's so cool.
over the tournament and stuff, which is really good.
But then we've got to talk about your final match. So you go into Sean, you're back into an unfavorable matchup against arguably one of I think Sean is one of the best like Rye players I've ever seen. He's just an incredible player. Like Sean is just an incredible player, but he's incredible on the Rye. The whole tournament, he looked so relaxed. That must have been a scary matchup to sit down in. Not to mention it's the finals of the entire tournament. Like how did you feel when you found out that Sean had won? Did you kind of expect it? Because what was his final matchup? He was into a Xander, wasn't he? Or
Yeah, he played the Luxem
yeah,
Xander, and some Luxem Xander beat Arai before in the quarters.
right.
I was like, okay, maybe he can do it again. And then I watched the match, and yeah, Sean just like did 150 damage in one turn or something. It was
It was
absolutely
ridiculous. Yeah.
insane.
But yeah, I mean, then, again, you're back into that unfavorable matchup once again. How do you feel then sitting down at that table, knowing this is it? This is the final. This is the end of Worlds now. You're either going to come away second or you're going to come away the world champion.
I mean, I was happy that I've made it like already so far.
Of
Like
course.
I was happy I was just the top 8, man. But coming and then going into the finals match, knowing that I was against Sean, I fully expected to lose. I was like, no, there's no way I can beat Sean here. Sean's the best player with Rye.
Yeah.
Like I would say he is the best Rye player,
Mm.
100%. And looking at his list, because I had some time, like because our quarterfinal match was semi-final match was first. So then I was able to watch Sean's match. And also just have like a little bit of a mental lowdown, go back to the room, chill for a couple hours,
Yeah.
and look over his list because I fully did expect him to win, and then he did. He went so fast. He went so greedy. He had zero anger disguise. He had a whole bunch of like draw for himself, draw for me too. So I was like, okay, the best way about going about this is just trying to beat him in the fast. Like go as fast as him
Race
or
him.
faster.
Yeah.
Yeah, which Merlin doesn't do that well, but somehow he got there.
Mm.
Yeah, you managed to. I mean, also, can we just say that, like, sitting there watching it, like, hearing the casters be like, he just needs to draw this, and then seeing you draw it, we're just like, no way, this guy is actually an anime character. Like, this is actually bullshit. How
It
is he
was
doing
So
it was
this?
pretty crazy. Like the first game having like triple hasty, being able to just chip him for so much damage, cycle through over half of my deck.
Yeah,
I was able to
mm,
find like the closeout conditions that I needed to by the time I was
yeah,
through.
and you mentioned yourself he didn't have any like he didn't really do any interaction. It was more just purely he's gonna turbo as fast as possible to the win con. So those three hasties were incredible because they just got to stay there
Yeah,
the entire
they were my
time.
best cards, 100%.
yeah. That I mean, okay. So you're playing through, right? This is the first time that we've ever seen or that's ever been played officially as a 5 round match.
Hmm.
You win the first one. Um, I believe you got the second one from memory. It's been a wee bit now.
Yeah. The
And
second one was I actually can't even remember how I closed it out. To be honest, it's been a
yeah,
little while now, but yeah, definitely got the second one.
yeah. And then he closed out he managed to take the third. I think that was pretty scrappy from what I remember. That one, it was like could have gone either way.
Yeah, yeah, I feel like I made a misplay there
Mm,
in the third one, but it still wouldn't have like I guess changed the game's outcome. But
mm.
if I had my other tether, I should have tethered
Right, yeah.
the what do you call it? The Dark and Blast off. It's just oh yeah, I'll take that. Kill you,
Okay. Yeah.
you know.
Yeah. No, I mean it's it is what it is, right? And I mean realistically, hey, you've still got you've got a bit of leeway there, right? So you can always reset and go to a more favorable game. And then you went to game 3. And I just want to like think about the moment, right? Because we were watching it, and obviously we knew you were going to win before you did. Uh, and that was the moment when he, I can't remember exactly how he did it. I'd have to go back and watch it. But I remember that he had 3 cards in his hand, or he had the potential to have 3 cards in his hand. And we saw him draw the cards, and it was nothing. It was like power overwhelming, and like arcane disposition, I think. It was something like that. There were 3 cards that did absolutely nothing for him. And we were all screaming in our local chats, in our Discord, like, he's got it. There's just no way. And I was like, oh my god, like I couldn't believe it. I mean, obviously, like we had like 100% faith in you that you could, you had a chance into every person, right? There was no one that was just gonna be like, oh no, I just automatically lose. But it's still kind of one of those things that just seems a little bit surreal that you actually went there, you took it out, and I saw those 3 cards and I was freaking out. And then watching you play out that turn so carefully around a spell shield was,
Well, I mean, like he had banished 3 spell shields already.
yeah,
So I
exactly.
was making
Yeah.
sure like where everything is, So there was already 3 spell shields gone. He had 1 left. And he had like a way to draw up to the counters by a fireball in response to be able to draw
Yeah.
on off the alignment counter. So I was always like wary of that final spell shield. I had to still play around it, or else I could have lost.
Yeah. And then what was that moment like when he extended the hand?
Uh that was unreal. There wasn't much time to actually think, I reckon. Like, because we shook hands, and then right afterwards we had to like run across the hotel to go to
Yeah, we
like
could see
the viewing area, and then
Yeah.
to say like hey to and everyone and stuff, like walk out when it like came up, caught up to on the stream. That was pretty cool. That moment, there was a lot of emotion and everything that was happening there. It was great.
Have you watched it back?
Yeah, I watched it back. It looked a little bit weird on the viewing side because of that little delay, but that was insane.
Yeah.
The whole like the moment, the whole tournament, I guess, was just insane. I still don't believe it, really.
Yeah, I can imagine. I mean, you're the victor, right? At the end of the day, regardless of, whatever anyone says, regardless of what you think, whether you think you're, not the best player of the world or whatever, you ended up showing up, and you did the business and you got it sorted and you brought it home. And how awesome is that? And how awesome do you think it is as well to be able to, for all of us New Zealanders to be able to say now that the first Grand Archive World Champion is a Kiwi?
It's a great thing for not only like New Zealand as well, to have like a world champion in Grand Archive, but for the game itself too. The tournament was top tier, and I reckon it's going to grow a lot bigger because of the exposure that happened, and it looked like it was really really well received. So I'm happy that it's going to grow not only in New Zealand but also in the worldwide.
So this could be I mean, obviously, like, if you don't want us to put this in, you can totally just tell us and we won't put it in, we won't talk about it. What did you do with the winnings?
All towards Ascent Singapore. Every single penny. 5-star hotel. What about the Grand Crusader ring though? I heard that you turned it into a necklace kind of thing that you just.
Well, it's actually just sitting on my desk right now. But
Oh nice. That's such a flex. That's such a flex.
I do plan to get like a necklace thing, like Go Frodo style, just because it's it's quite small. It's not gonna fit on my finger.
Yeah. All right. Yeah.
It fits on my partner's finger, but she won't wear it.
Oh, dude,
Bro,
you got
engagement.
A ring for his partner? What the fuck? Wait.
No, she said like gold, and I'm like, oh, here we go.
Yeah.
That's so
cool.
I imagine that story to tell you, like, you just like, how did you get your engagement ring for your partner? Oh, I won it at a world championship tournament. I became the best player in the world so that I could get her engagement ring.
Yeah.
Actually insane,
The grand engagement ring.
Oh, yeah. Imagine how much of a flex it would be for Glenn to sit across from you in a tournament. He plays his Grand Crusader ring, and then he just quickly like flashes the one on his necklace out for a second.
No, it's not even like flashing it; it's putting it on the table on top of the card. I'm gonna
Yeah.
my ring along with it,
So hold on then. If I use Diablerie and steal it, do I get the ring?
See how it is.
Actually becomes Golem across the
Golem
across the table.
If I ever know I'm gonna be potentially playing into Glen, I'm gonna play Win Vanitas and I'm going to try and get that fucking ring.
No, but okay, so World's finished,
Oh
right?
man.
World's finished. You got your
Nah.
incredible, like you managed to win it through. You got all that back to New Zealand. Right after Worlds happened, there was the whole release event with the Recollection decks and everything. And MRC was released now, so now you're back in New Zealand. You've opened. I think you said 4 cases. You opened 4 cases. You pulled a CUR and a CSR. Like
Yeah,
actually insane. You do just like it's not only
Man's got the
drawing the
golden
card you
horseshoe,
need, it's
eh? Like,
pulling
what
the
the
card you
fuck?
want. Like actually, how do you do
I don't know. I'm just lucky in
it?
this game, I feel.
After that though, so you've opened it. I assume you've got mostly a playset of stuff that you want. How are initial thoughts on this set after seeing the cards in person, getting to hold them and read them, and probably theory craft a bit? I assume Creative Shock is already doing a bit of theory crafting for stuff. How are you feeling about the set?
Well, funny thing, I didn't know really anything about the set. I'd seen like some art. I saw maybe like 1 or 2 cards before, like actually cracking open my cases. It's like when I got home from a flight, it was Friday the 17th of May, I believe, that I landed in New Zealand, which was the
Yeah,
release date. So I was like, okay,
yeah,
here we go. We're gonna go straight to the store, or first off, we'll drop off bags and stuff, but then we head to the store,
yeah,
pick up my cases, and start
yeah.
cracking stuff. Hey, um, it was interesting seeing the cards for the first time without seeing them properly. So I was like, kind of reading them or trying to. Oh, I still had to get through 4 cases, But it was more the sorting that I was actually reading everything, and like
Yeah.
I think the set is really good. Personally, I think some of the distribution things, like distributing, like I opened 4 cases and
Yes.
I missed out an entire SR, and I was
Yep.
I was a little bit peeved about that. So I had
Really?
to like look it
Yeah.
out, try and like,
It's
eh,
yeah. It's a joke, to be honest. I was pretty strict on pretty firm on my feelings of this in the last podcast, but yeah, no, the distribution is kind of horrific. And especially URs, right? They used to be a thing that you could get. It was only material decks. You only needed one of them. So when you finally got one, it was like, cool, great, I've got one. Uh, and now there is 5 URs in the main deck, and there are less in the material deck. And it basically means that everyone is forced to now have to, if they need these cards or they want them, if they become popular, it just means that it's worse than, think about card like SRs that we have, like Gildas, right? That's already really expensive. Imagine if there's a Gildas level card that needs to be run 4 of in every single deck that is a UR, right? Like,
so the counter argument to that is that they're not making like URs that will be in every single deck. They're putting it just so it's like for that one archetype, and
yeah.
I can definitely say I'm not like I'm I'm in the middle ground of it. Like I understand where Webb's coming from, but I also understand like the collectors, they want to have every single UR like available for them just to have a playset.
As a
But yeah.
as a fellow competitive player, do you not think though that like wanting to have a playset of all of those cards, because obviously like we're probably both going to Singapore, um I want to make sure that I've got at least a playset of everything, or at least I have the ability to get that so that I can make whatever deck I feel like is going to perform best, or whatever I'm going to want to build for that. Like, I don't want to be restricted based on card availability.
I think the issue is you're talking to the Merlin loyalist. This guy did not swap off Merlin even for Worlds, so why would he build a different deck to what he wants? He's just gonna build what's cool to him.
No.
I mean, like, yeah, I do enjoy Merlin. You'll probably still see me playing Merlin on the set, whether it
Hell
be
yeah.
fire, water.
I was
I'm
gonna
not sure.
say, because I fucked around with the water Merlin, and using primordial ritual and stuff, and you can get a pretty big Erendite out there.
Oh, mate, not even talking about Aaron. Naya is insane.
But are
Naya
you
is so good,
bro? I hate that card so much.
bro. It said spell.
Yes,
That includes Ascension, Truckside.
yeah, but here's
Yeah.
the thing: if it dies, you lose it.
Yeah, it's like a level 3 card. You
That
put it
card
down.
is so bad. I hate it. It's 3 cost. It is a terrible body, and it almost kind of draws you a card.
But this is you now versus the world
Yeah,
champion.
I know. I really don't have a
okay,
leg to stand on, but honestly, like
Yeah.
when I looked at this card, man, like I literally have it at notes. Naya, fuck this card, and like
I can confirm I am staring at that sentence right now.
I hate Naya, man. I think that the card is horrible. I don't know why it's an SR.
Mate, you just not playing with it right. I'm telling you right now. Naya is
You actually get bodied.
Yeah,
like
no.
seriously. Like I think Naya is probably my most favorite card of the
Are
entire.
you shitting me? That is insane,
I
man.
love Naya, man. And
Okay,
I've got her in a CSR already. I'm thinking about getting a playset.
okay. If I
It's,
pull one,
um,
I'll hit you up because I don't want it. Man, that actually blows my mind. Like again, like this is me. Like I haven't played around with it, so admittedly, I can't really say from a functional level. And hey, there's been cards that I thought were terrible that I've gone back on because they turned out to be really good. Um, but man, like I find it so hard to think Naya's gonna be that good. Like I really hate the card to be honest.
I just
the
think it
reason
gives Water Mage, or should I say Watermelon, just that extra tool. And it was really
Hmm.
missing
Do you have space?
something to get it there, and now it's got the extra dig availability. It pretty much replaces Tide Diviner.
Yeah.
Like, you probably won't play Tide
Really?
Diviner now, I don't think.
Tide Diviner, I think, is awesome in Merlin.
Mate, you just said Naya's terrible. It's a 3 cost, but Tide Diviner's a 4 cost.
Yeah, no. But Tide Diviner puts it in your hand, and you get more cards out of it that you could put in your bin, which are floating memory. Because you can build a water deck now that has like 90% floating memory. Man,
Yeah,
like
but
you
technically
dig so
Naya
much
does draw
deeper.
it to your hand too, but it's just
No,
underneath.
it doesn't. No,
Yeah.
it doesn't. It does not draw it to your hand because if it dies, you lose it.
Yeah, well, the thing is, right?
We can.
The way
I
see
feel like
it,
we can have a good
it's
argument about
no,
this.
no. The reason, like from a player who's looking at it now, I look at Naya in the same way that I see like there are cards like I think its name's like Loot the Key to Everything, one of the new Magic cards that came out. It's one of those cards that exiles cards when it comes into play, and then lets you play those face down or like those exiled cards. And I see it as a very similar effect. Like it's
But
milling you, which is what Water wants to do anyway, and then lets you play the exiled
but
card, which
here's the big. This is my big thing, right? It's 3 cards. You could easily whiff, right? Like it's there's definitely times where you will whiff on this, and also unlike a lot of those ones in Magic where it says as long as it remains banished, you may play it. This one you can only play it while she exists. If she dies, you lose that card, and it's also face up as well, so they can play around it.
yeah, well, I mean, like for a lot of those cards in Magic, the effect only persists as long as that card is still on the board as well. Like the card itself is what's giving you access to play those exile cards. If that card disappears, then you lose access to the ability to play them. They just become regular banished cards. But the reason I like Naya is, as Glenn said, it's a way to dig into your deck further. Like, yeah, it's a 2/2, yep, cool, whatever. It's a 3 cost, yep, cool, whatever. But like getting to dig 3 cards deep, putting some float into your graveyard and stuff like that, and then also getting to play it, as you said, like Glenn said, it's a late game card, right? Like Glenn, I don't think you're gonna play this early to try and get like a fucking scry. I don't think you're playing this early to get a scry the skies or some shit. You're playing it late for
Unless you're
the
bricked.
incredible spell that you can get off of it. Like it's, to me, it's just one of those cards that lets you go even further into your deck and helps you get the win con. Because I don't know, I'm gonna be honest, Glenn. I don't know how you play your watermelon, but I feel like it's one of those decks that's just, it gets to a certain amount of value and then it just needs that one spell to win the game. That's it. And Naya helps you get there. It's just one card that can essentially substitute itself for one of those cards. It helps you dig deeper. Am I missing the mark completely, Glenn?
Well, yeah, like you definitely right on the point there.
Oh,
But
never mind.
yeah, no, you're on the point. I still think Watermelon is missing that one more thing. Like it doesn't have
What
a creative shock.
Water fireball.
do you? Yeah, no.
Yeah,
Honestly, I was just about to say like the only the way that I found the best way to deal damage out in Watermelon is use it just to you've got to try and smack face. There's no way to do like non-combat damage, or no good way to do it, right? So like there's got to be like a fireball-esque thing to put on Merlin level. But do we really want to fireball in water?
I mean you've got Essence of Blizzards, but this card's pretty mid.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, at least we agree on that card being mid. So no, I mean, like realistic. I'm fully like, you know, my opinions currently are kind of like my first take because again, I haven't seen anyone play it, and I also haven't played it myself. I'm fully expecting that someone is going to show me how good it is, and like play it. But it'll have to be played into me. It'll have to get me, and then I'll be like, oh nah, like okay, I hate the card, but I'll still play it because it's good. But I'm also just like really hoping that it's not because as far as I can see it right now, I don't think it's worth it. Like I just don't think it does enough. I think there are just better ways. Like I think again, Tide Diviner is more expensive, but you can dig way deeper.
Yeah, I guess. Like the issue as well is that now you could technically play it early if you did want to.
Yeah,
And mill yourself for 2 floating and banish a card. It's still not too bad in itself.
yeah. I mean, if you had a Primordial Ritual off it, and then you play the Primordial Ritual and sack the Naya, it's not bad.
Technically, you can't play Primordial because it's a skill.
Oh, it's a skill. I didn't even think about that. I didn't even look at it. I just assumed it was a spell.
Josh not knowing his cards. Womp,
Oh yeah,
womp.
sorry, I don't know every type line of every one of the 190
Can't
odd
believe
cards.
you. Womp, womp.
Don't worry, I've been looking into this watermelon. That's for sure.
I've been building.
Yeah.
It's been built.
Hey,
I've been building.
I
Speaking of
built
the
it.
water,
I built it. I built it, played it once, and I was like, I'm just gonna wait for someone who's better than me to break this, and then I'll play it.
Well,
I was
have a
gonna
look in
say
the
though.
Discord. Is it the Merlin bloody thread? Let's make Merlin matter. I've got my list in there if you want to have a look. There.
Ooh, okay, I'll
Do
have
we
a
need
look.
a thread? Do we need a thread to make Merlin meta? Is that a thing? I feel like she just was always
This is
like.
this.
Yeah,
But
it was a bit of a meme at first. I think it was made in FTC as well, but then it
right.
actually Merlin
Yeah.
sort of fell off a wee bit in ALC.
Yeah.
All right, I tell you what,
Well, okay.
Once Crystal got banned.
I'm gonna scroll through, and I'm gonna have a look. And oh my god, do you want to? Okay, do you want to know who made that fucking thread? It was Jack.
Wait, really?
Jack made that thread. His quote was, "Merlin is such a weak champion. Let's try and make her viable."
For anyone that doesn't know what we're laughing about, Jack is one of our teammates who is also a hardcore Merlin loyalist.
Oh my
That's
god, that
actually
is
kind of
so
hilarious.
funny. Did you
But
did you notice that, Glenn?
I'm sorry, I didn't actually know who it was that made it.
No, he probably made it a while.
that's
Oh, okay. I'm.
kind of funny.
This is a bit impromptu, but I'm gonna look at Glenn's list now, and I'm gonna rate it. Because I'm clearly, in the position where I can judge a world champion's deck.
I was going to say, while you do that, since we're on the topic of water, can you give a quick comment? Because you said you read through some of the new cards you've been sorting 4 cases worth of cards, which I don't envy you at all for doing. But did you see some of the new cleric cards? How are you feeling about Arasana? Because you did say in our last podcast that Arasana would be somebody that you would be very interested in playing if she got support to the point that she was, a competitively viable champion. I think I don't know too much about this specific archetype of champion. I don't play into it too much. But I think you are definitely you're a professional source right now. You're an expert opinion. How are you feeling about Arasana now with her new cleric support?
It's still a bit of a slower ride. Like, that's just putting it
Ah,
bluntly. I don't think she has the support. Like Meteor Shower, I think it was. It's a good card. It's pretty much a slow speed Excalibur, or you can star call it for a board wipe. So you've got that, I guess, more board wipe potential. Just so
yeah.
it's still not right there. I'm thinking personally. Like, there's going to be some list of like Fire Asana where you put like 30 Astra cards in there, and it's just going to be right.
Yeah.
Like you might as well just play right at that point,
Yeah, no, that's fair. There was one card that I saw. I can't remember the exact name of it. It was the normal element card that you draw 2 cards, then put 1 back on top of your deck, and it was exactly what I was hoping Arasana would get. Because obviously, if you're drawing a ton of cards or whatever, even if you're just playing the game and you draw like a Comet Fall, it feels like shit because now it's like a 5-cost card in your hand that you could have star called for way less. But now you can set up those star calls perfectly because it's going right on top of your deck. You don't need to glimpse more than 1 to be able to star call it, and then at the same time you're also drawing 2 other cards to your hand. I feel like it was like the perfect card for it, and I'm so glad it was normal element as well, so that you could play it in any Arasana that you want. I know that, champions don't exactly always get fixed based on just one card addition. And as you said, Arasan is trying to fill this niche. Like, she's not a combat damage champion. She is a non-combat damage champion, in my opinion, anyway. I feel like based on the cards she has and what she does, she's always going to be competing with Rai.
Yeah, like Buried Grief is
That's
is,
the
is
card,
a
yeah.
definitely it's a very very good card for Arasana. It is one of the tools that she has needed. The problem is though that she's sort of like the Sylvie-esque. She's requiring more tools rather than just one. Like Sylvie had so much support coming from DOA. She had more support in FTC. There's some and now she's got her whole like slime thing going on, which
Mm,
is absolutely insane. It's busted
yeah,
as well.
I love the slime is so funny.
yeah.
It is so fun to play. Like we had a recollection event of 17 players. Like most of us were playing Sylvan. All you heard was just slime, slime, slime.
I
Like
love
around
it.
it. It was bloody hilarious.
It's just so good. Like, I think honestly, if we could like tangent for a second and talk about those recollection decks, I think it is probably one of the best. It's one of the best products you can get in terms of like Grand Archive value, in terms of just value in general. Like for what you get in the box, for how much the box is worth, incredible value. But also for like a new player coming into the game, probably one of the best kits you can get going in, because you get a relatively good deck. Like, it's better than the starter deck. It's not going to be a veteran constructed list. If I ask you to give me a list, it's going to be far better than the Recollection deck. But
Well,
like, it's good, right? Like, they're good decks.
yeah, the Sylvie deck. Like there was an event that happened literally yesterday.
Yes, yeah,
And there was 5 out of the top 8 were Sylvie recollection decks.
exactly.
Or very very similar.
Very
Like
close, yeah.
there was 3 slime
Spirits
Sylvies
and
that
2 fire.
used to
Yeah,
and 2 fire. Yeah,
yeah,
it was absolutely amazing just to see that like Sylvie
yeah.
is popping up
Like,
like this already.
all that was really different, all that when I looked through the list, all that happened is essentially some of the terror element regalia was added to it, like Horn of Beast Calling, Covenant of Thorns, and Gaia's Blessing. But then in the main deck, all that really changed was some people added some better forms of float instead of idle thoughts, or I mean, most every single one of them added 4 dungeon guides because it's a level 3 deck. Dungeon guide is insane, and the level 3 Sylvie is perfect for Dungeon Guide, because if you can hold at least 1 2-cost slime in your hand and you Dungeon Guide up to 3, you can play that card now and it comes out really, really big. Like, it doesn't really matter if you're not that high on cards when you play the Dungeon Guide, because you could probably still get a really good turn out of it. Just with that alone, it's a really really cool day. I think this is such a well thought out one. I feel kind of bad because I remember how excited a lot of people were for the Tristan one. I think the Tristan one is incredible. I'm assuming you've looked through and seen all the cards in the Tristan one. I think there are some incredible cards in that, like Stifling Trap, Incapacitate, that kind of stuff. Incredible cards. But I feel like everyone's looking more to Sylvie because it's a champion that just was not good. Like, I don't think anyone can argue that Sylvie throughout Dawn of Ashes, FTC, and ALC was just not performing on the level with other champions. And now suddenly seeing her as the most played champion in a recent, I think it was 130 plus player event, I think it was a 23% turnout, was just Sylvie's. And most of those were using the Spirit of Slime and stuff. Actually incredible. I am over the moon for this right now myself. But yeah, it kind of feels bad for the Tristan deck, which I feel
I
like,
mean,
yeah,
yeah, the Tristan deck it needs a bit of work still to it.
yeah,
Like, there is the tools. Like me and the Creative Shock team have been looking into it quite a bit.
of course, yeah,
Because we've got a couple of people heading up to Taipei. So
nice,
we're trying to get some very good meta decks like
yeah,
in process, I guess. But the Tristan one, there is spice there,
yeah,
but it's hard to really get it
yeah,
consistently
I
paying off.
think if you want an anti-Tristan card, just put 4 Resolutes in your deck, because honestly, Resolute stand shits on so much of what Tristan does.
Hmm.
I mean, obviously you've got the unblockable attack that you can prep, but I mean, you look at all of those. If you go the route of getting the Shadow's Claw out and sharpening it, and then swinging with all of your dudes, realistically, it's you still are going to get Resolute's going to stop that. Slice and Dice gets shit on by Resolute. Like it feels like it's a lot of chippy damage that needs to be done in the same turn, and Resolute just is being such a good card already that already sees a lot of play. You know, it does need a lot of work, I think. But I think there's definitely a good deck there.
Yeah, definitely. There's like sort of two ways to go about building trust, and you can go for like the early ally aggro,
Yeah.
or you could go for the prep counter generation and go for your level 3, and then you've got like a mix of both at the
Yeah.
same time. Because like the level 3 prep counter generation, it doesn't like it does a lot of damage in one turn, but it doesn't have that
Yeah.
OTK yet.
Yeah.
Yeah. I do like the fact of how the decks work though, because like it's really easy for a new player to come in and be like, oh, what do I play? And you're like, do you like fantasy allies? Yep. Okay, here's slimes, and the deck plays itself. Like top players are going to beat you with it, but as a new player, essentially every card, it's what a tribal deck should be. Every card synergizes with itself and helps out the overall goal of the slime deck. Like, is it a slime ally? Cool, there's probably an extra effect on this to help out a slime ally with you. It's such a cool deck, and it's so simple to pick up and play. I feel like the Tristan one is, as you said, it's one of those ones that needs a little bit of like you need to tweak it a little bit. As a good player needs to look over it and tweak it a little bit, but I feel like it definitely does. It has the legs to go much further. It's just picking it up as a newer player or even like a veteran player, it can be kind of hard to figure out where to go with the list, or how to close out a game versus the slime list, which does it much easier in my eyes.
I mean,
Out
like
of
Recollection out of the box, I think the Tristan is still like pretty good. But if you're
Mm,
comparing it to sort of like a top tier one deck, then it's just going to fall short most of the
yeah,
time.
yeah,
yeah.
yeah.
Um, okay, so just to kind of digress a little bit from that, looking at this list, and I've just been having a little scroll through it. Your watermelon seems very kind of similar to what I did. Um, So playing the Fragmented Spirit, we should probably touch on those because the Fragmented Spirits I think are fucking awesome. I
Mm,
think basically in any deck that's going to level 3, unless it's super aggressive, like maybe Diana's, I think basically every other level 3 deck just wants to have these instead of the normal Spirit. I don't know, I've been playing it in Rye and Fire Rye. My Fragmented Fire Rye list is very similar to the one that actually won the event. I've
yeah,
been
it went 7-0.
yeah, I've been playing something very similar recently, and it feels really nice. So, I mean, what do you think? I really like the Fragmenteds.
I think that the if you're playing Fire Merlin, I don't like it personally because it stops
Okay.
your cremation and then 2-drop, so you don't get that like
Yeah,
big kickstart to you got to really have like fast floating in your
yeah,
hand
makes
then.
sense. Yeah,
Um, but I do like it in the water because Primordial Ritual's only a 2 cost.
two. Yeah, that's what I found when I was playing it as well. Is that with Primordial Ritual being a thing, being able to find the Primordial or find the Library Witch or the Shieldmate, and then put everything else down and basically dig to almost always have that opening is just so strong.
Yeah. And you'll see, like, with my list here, I'm running a total of, like, what is it? It's 15 crux, and then I've got, like, 5 of the other float from other colors. It's
Mm,
like 20 cards in total, but you can afford to run that amount of, like, unplayable cards, you could say, in the early game.
yeah,
Just because you've
Mm,
got the Fragmented Spirit there, to glimpse
yeah.
away.
Yeah, so then we've got the standard Lorraine, Merlin 2, Merlin 3, Drawnblade, GCR, Safeguard, Terror, Tithe, all pretty standard. Crystalline Longsword, I found that sword to be awesome. I think it performs really well. It's just a free, you don't have to pay to attack almost in this deck, Bulwark Sword. It's almost always going to be active, if you're playing your hands right. Um, or at least, you're hoping it's going to be active. And if not, hey, it's just a slightly worse, you just don't have True Sight on a, you know, uh, sort of seeking. So realistically, at worst, it's a sort of seeking without True Sight. At best, it's a Bulwark Sword that you don't have to pay for.
And, the true sight is it is quite valuable. Like, there have been times when I've had the Crystalline Longsword out and I've not been able to kill, like, a Dream Fairy. And that feels
Yeah,
horrible.
yeah, that is true. I mean, I suppose because it is really your only source, other than, I mean, you do have Frost Shard in here, which I think is probably the only other way to get rid of it, or one of the only other ways. Looking at the list briefly,
Yeah, like
yeah,
Frost Shard in itself, and it is an insane card too. Like, this is the
yeah,
other thing that Watermelon got, which was amazing. Like, I love this card so much. Like,
yeah.
it's been the best performing card out of this entire set that I've played with currently.
I mean, yeah. Realistically, if you're getting full value out of it, it's 4 damage per card, which is really solid. And
That's
just being able to
6 if they're rested. It's crazy.
Oh yeah, true. Yeah, because you got to think about them rested. Yeah, yeah. No, I think about playing Rye, and I'm thinking if someone plays this into me, I'm never going to be tapped.
Yeah.
But
No,
yeah,
like it kills 2/2/3s pretty much if
yeah,
you've leveled up.
exactly. Yeah, yeah.
Mental.
That's super awesome. Yeah, so that's really good. Cerulean Decree. Um, I think this card's really awesome. I just like having the versatility personally.
Yeah,
You
I
like,
mean, like at worst, it's a draw a card into your memory, and
yeah,
then at
exactly.
best, it's negate something and draw a card.
Yeah,
It's amazing.
or if you need to
Or
if you need to stop cleave for whatever reason, or just stop a lethal attack, there's so many different lines.
Modal cards are just so much fun to use.
I think the water one is definitely the best. I think Cerulean's definitely the strongest. Um,
do you think the fire one, if you're playing like aggro Zand or something like that, or even like erupting, would probably close it out as the better one.
yeah, I would say
Personally.
I think the water one's probably more like I think the water one you basically play in almost any water deck. I think the fire one only kind of goes in those archetypes. That's kind of my approach to it.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. Yeah, obviously we talked about Frost Shard, Naya. I mean, yeah, I mean, prove me wrong and I'll play it, but
You two are going to have to agree to disagree on this one, and
yeah,
then
yeah,
Glenn's going to have to win Second Worlds with it.
yeah, yeah. No, he will.
Second Worlds of Watermelon.
Second
you know what?
Worlds with Watermelon. Or Water Rye. Play Water Rye with
No,
it.
no,
Hell
that would
Oh.
tilt me even more. No, no. What I think's, I mean, obviously because we live in the same region, Glenn. I plan to do a little bit more traveling this season, so we're probably going to run into each other a few times. If you win the game because of Naya, I will probably try and flip the table.
Just you wait,
Oh,
just you wait.
just yeah. Well, you better get ready because the table's coming your way. No, I'm joking. I wouldn't do that. But no, yeah, no, I'm personally not a big fan. But anyway,
I mean, if we're being honest right now, Josh, like how many games have you actually taken from Glenn?
okay, look, realistically, if this is my season, all right. I'll get one from him. I'll be so happy. It makes me feel better that I lost to him now because he's the world champs. So when the more like those two losses that I took in Dunedin, that were really close, I'm like, oh man, that feels way better now because he's the world champ. I can at least say that I, I
Oh
lost to the
man,
world champ, so it's a reasonable excuse.
You had me sweating, mate.
unfluggy. Yeah, but if we're okay, so to move on then swiftly with the with our set stuff, I wanted to kind of know because again, you're a really good player. Like Glenn, I consider you to be an expert opinion in this. In this set, obviously, we get support for every single class, even the previous class and stuff. Everyone got support, including advanced element support for the new classes. Who do you think from this setup, from the early outlook? We're 2 weeks into the set now. We've had one or two. You've had like some locals, and we just saw the online Luxera's map open. Who do you think out of the champions, out of the archetypes, currently has legs, or we'll see, doing pretty well this set?
Oh, I think Fire Xander's probably gonna win Type A.
Fuck my life. I hate this fucking deck.
Unlucky.
Oh my god, I want it to fucking die. It is the most. Do you not think Glenn is the most miserable matchup to play into?
Oh, like it's okay. Yes.
It,
It depends more on what you draw than what the aggro Xander draws, to be honest.
yeah, it's got to be like probably the most miserable like match to play into because like especially if they go first. Like if you lose the dice roll, it's like you're almost just like guaranteed a loss. Like at least from like I mean there are ways you can get around it. Like if you manage to get a resolute at the right time, you manage to get your safeguard and your terraforming out. Like if you can stack all of that stuff up and get it out before them, then you've got a chance. But fuck, it's still miserable to play into.
The deck right now it's had a big buff of the new cards, so it's going to be a tough one to overcome. It was already a good
Mm.
deck before, and now it just got stronger.
Yeah.
But you're predicting that it's going to win Taipei, though.
Yeah,
Which is obviously coming up in this coming week.
I do think it's going to do well. It will likely win, actually. I do think that.
That's pretty cool.
Ooh. Okay.
Do you think Fire Xander or like do you think Fire Lorraine also is going to do pretty well? Do you think she like got some legs as well, or do you think kind of it's just going to be Xander?
Yeah, the Phylorane to get some help too, but I do think it's more of a Viagra Xander show right now.
Yeah. Oh, to be fair as well, like yeah, with all the assassin support.
That dagger, man, the one that comes out if you've got prep counters, like
Yeah,
that one's fucking cooked. Like
mate, you can
that
blaze him through 3 times in one
yeah,
hit.
it's such bullshit, eh?
It's crazy.
Yeah, no, that as soon as you can, the game's still in its infancy, and there's a lot of like shorthands in a lot of games like Magic where we know that certain archetypes are going to be really good, or certain cards are going to be really good based on how they work. Uh, I feel like in GA we're starting like we're the main thing at the moment is if there's anything that lets you materialize more than once a turn is always going to be really good. Anything that allows you to cheat it out of the material deck is always going to be really good.
Yeah.
Yep,
But I mean,
100%.
like, so again, yeah, we trust you on this because I assume you've already been. I assume you, as being part of a very very competitive team, have already done a lot of cooking, and that's another thing we wanted to jump onto because, again, part of Creative Shock, you two, you and Jason, two of the members of it, ended up, you went all the way to Worlds. Like, you again solidified in the competitive meta team. You guys are a competitive team, but you also make content. And what we saw recently, right after Worlds, is that Creative Shock jumped back on the content train. They already made content, they already made podcasts and stuff, and we will link down in the description of ours. But you guys are back on that. How does it feel now, jumping into that, into the content creation scene again?
I mean, it's cool to be part of the podcast that happened, and then we've also got like deck building ideas and stuff that we're throwing out there too,
Yep.
which is very very cool. Like,
Yeah.
I'm not sure if you've seen some of the recent videos. We've got the Water Nico Mill, mate. That is terrifying.
Yeah.
That's absolutely terrifying.
It's actually like it's really really cool to go through it because I think it's one thing that that Grand Archive as a niche was kind of missing is most of the time when it was what deck, like how do I build this certain deck, you'd link them the Luxera's map like tournament link of where that specific deck did really well or topped, and you're like, oh, it's the guy that won third, really he won well with this Wind Norris deck, so do this. But actually getting deck lists from a top tier player to then describe how the deck should be played, and what this card does and when you want to play it and when you want to see it and yada yada, it's something that kind of just wasn't capitalized on enough. I feel like we have TCG, True Champion Gaming. They've been making these for a while and they're very very good at it, as obviously also a very competitive team and a very top team. But seeing Creative Shock, who again also a very competitive team, jumping in and showing us how to build decks well, such a cool little thing to see like pop up there, because again it's something that I can now link new players. And I really like the Nico one. I was super excited about because I've got players at my locals that are just heading into the game, and a lot of them like janky stuff, and I don't think Nico's jank, but I think she was a rogueless before. You don't play Nico if you wanted to win an ALC or like win a tournament, top a tournament or anything like that. But now she has these like it's turn 5, mill 50. It's terrifying to be hit with that shit. Like, you're like, what the hell? So she does have these legs. If your opponent is not expecting it, Nico is going to take those games from you. And seeing like one of the biggest issues though is we don't really have a deck like that in the game already. We didn't have a mill list. Now being able to just be like, hey, look, this really good player has actually made a list on it, and they made a video, and they talk about how to do it, and they showcase like what these cards do. It's super super good. So I'm happy to see Creative Shock jump back into it. Also, the podcast is really fun to listen to. So that's just another part I like. Fuck, am I glazing the shit out of Creative Shock right now? Holy shit. Josh, have I just been going off on like a 2-minute rant just glazing the shit out of them?
Yep. Yeah, you have.
Fuck! Shit!
No, it's all good. No. No, honestly, like, it is really cool to see Creative Shock coming back, because I don't know if you know that. Well, probably not. That's initially how I started playing GA. So when I remember, I was traveling for an ice hockey tournament up to Tekapo from Dunedin. So it's like a 4-hour drive, right? And I had seen that there was a new, there was the learn to play for this new game called Grand Archive, and I was like, okay, well, on the trip there and back, I'll listen to some podcasts about it so I can like try and figure out what I'm doing before I go. And that's Creative Shock's the one I listened to, and it was super cool. And that particularly Gazimus got me into he got me into doing Rye, like Turbo Arcane Rye, so you can blame him, Richard. And yeah, so that was like, no, it's really cool, and that was kind of what I started with, and then it was Creative Shock content kind of fell off, and I'm like, oh, that kind of sucks. So no, it's awesome to see it coming back, and it's cool to see you be a part of it as well.
By fell off, by the way, we don't mean that they were mid. We mean that they
No.
stopped.
Yeah,
Yeah,
no,
they stopped
sorry, I
posting.
should clarify. No, yeah, you stopped posting. It not felt like. I mean, how can I say fell off, man? Like two of them went to Worlds.
Yeah, you're so right.
Definitely looked like the team took a bit of a break, but coming back hard and strong now, that's for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I mean, it's also just a great time. Like, as Josh said, 2 of the members went to Worlds. Like, you guys are, like, a good name in the GA community now. So if people see, like, oh, it was Creative Shock, those 2 guys that went to Worlds, and one of them literally won Worlds. Oh, they also have, like, a podcast coming in, and they're doing these videos. As you left, I literally just saw they just uploaded a video on the forest, like making forest cake, like making the card as a real cake. I was like, damn, dude.
Making forest cake.
It made me kind of hungry. Yeah, ask Jason.
I didn't even see this.
It's just got posted, man.
Oh,
No, but like, yeah. But oh man, like that's the thing. I love these like variety channels that head into GA. And when I say like variety, I mean like variety within the GA sphere. Just doing a bunch of different stuff, like podcasts, like deck lists, like deck battles. It's fun because you're not like, there are certain channels which you can go to and you're probably going to get the same kind of thing, and that's not bad. Like if I want to see a really highly produced GA podcast, Talk GA makes extremely good GA podcasts, and I know that when I go to their channel, I'm gonna get a podcast. It's what I want when I go to that channel. But then it's kind of nice to just be, again, opening your phone and just seeing Jason posting a video about, we made forest cake. Like, I kind of want to see it now. Like, it looks good. Every time I play forest cake, I look at it and I go, man, I kind of want to have one of those. And it's just, it's cool. I like that a lot though. But yeah, I mean, all that aside, so we've gone over like your incredible trip up through Worlds, managing to win that. We managed to then go on to the new set, like the pros and cons that you found with the new set. You 2 had a massive, horrifying argument about Naya. I don't think your friendship
It wasn't an argument. It was a discussion.
I don't think your friendship will ever recover from this. Josh threatened violence. He said he would throw a table at you if you ever won. I don't know where that came from.
Hey, you were wording this in the wrong way.
I'm also the editor.
I'll flip the table, and if he's in the way, well, that's his fault. He was too slow. No.
I hope you know this is the clip that I'm going to grab. I'm going to grab that one like soundbite, and that's going to be the coming up at the beginning of the video. But then, yeah, then we're talking about some of the new cards and like what you think is going to be the new sets, like the new meta kind of thing, and then just talking about your experiences in your new team. I say new team. You've been in them for a while. You've been with Creative Shock for a while now, but like with them jumping back into the content field. So I think we've gone over quite a lot of stuff. Is there anything specific that like you had that you've noticed in this set, or maybe just in GA in general? That you wanted to talk about?
Well, I just want to give a big shout out to Tyler, Once in Love, for providing me with some cards that I was missing over when I was at Worlds. Didn't have my flame sweeps with me, so I had to run around and try and find them at 11 p.m. at night before I'd submit the deck at 2. So it was a bit stressful then, but we got there.
Do you want to know what's funny? So I was chatting to Tyler a little bit. So obviously you signed those cards when handed back, like when he got them back, and he said that he tried them in some locals tournaments. Whenever he needed a flame sweep, he just drew it. He's like, I don't know what it is about the cards Glen uses, but they're just there when you need them.
Yeah, I just gave them my special touch.
You better get a new Vivid, because I'm gonna get you to sign my whole Rye deck. And
Yeah, but
sign every single card.
That won't work. You just draw your whole deck then.
Yeah. Well, that's the goal, right?
That's the point. That's the point. No, but this was really fun. It was really good to get you on. I'm so glad this is the first and easiest time that we managed to get you back on the podcast. There was absolutely no problems at all in any of it. Oh no. But no, that's for just us to know. That's the funny part of it. But yeah, we'll leave it off there. Thank you for coming back on, Glen. It was super nice to be able to hear your thoughts about the whole set, about Worlds and everything. And I hope we can get you on, or even Jason back on at some point in the future. Have a little collab with Creative Shock.
Yeah, it could be an idea, definitely.
Yeah, but either way, thanks for tuning in, guys, and hopefully we'll see you all next week.